All right, Larry Krueger here on KMBR's YouTube channel for Niners Nightly, and I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Warm day today in Santa Clara. We're going to recap. We got a great hour. We're going to recap what happened down in Santa Clara today, cover everything that happened in 49er land, and then we're going to talk a little bit with John Chapman from the 49er Rush podcast. He's going to stop by in about 20 minutes or so, and we'll chop it up with John and talk a little Niners and get his thoughts on training camp as well. But an exciting day today in Santa Clara, a lot going on. Really a pretty interesting practice on a lot of fronts. And let's just get right into, the winners and losers from practice today. And there always are, there's a lot. Every practice you've got, guys who shine, guys who step up, guys who make plays. And it's just, day after day, you see a little bit of, a little bit of something new every day at practice. And then you put enough days together, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, okay. All right. Now I see the whole picture. And so today was practice day number 11. And there were a lot of things to talk about today. So one of them is that Ricky Pearsall is really looking great. I kind of said hi to him in the hallway as he was walking to the locker room after practice. He's serious, man. I do admire this cat. I really do. And the reason for it is that I love how hard he is on himself. I love his high standards. I love the fact that this guy's really critical of himself, that he really wants to be good. Some guys are just in it for the paycheck. Some guys are just in it for the glory. Some guys are just in it for the moment, whatever. Some guys are in it for the violence or the girls or the lifestyle. This guy's a real ball player. This guy really loves to play, and he's a student of the game, and he has been making plays the last couple of days. And the biggest improvement for a football player is year 1 to year 2. In like a season, the biggest improvement is typically week 1 to week 2, because you see a game, you play the game, you correct your mistakes, you come back in that week 2, and usually you're a whole lot better for it. So there's that for a lot of the young guys in the preseason. The second week will probably be better than the first. But year 1 to year 2 is a huge difference. Think about it. Year 1, you're trying to get drafted, and it's a totally different process. You're training for the combine, and then you're meeting with teams, and then you're figuring out who drafts you, and then there's mini camp. You got to learn the system. There's OTAs and mandatory mini camp, getting ready for training camp, and everything's new, and the speed of the game so much faster, and and the layers of complexity. I mean, Shanahan, who played wide receiver, talks about it a lot. He loves to talk about it if you can get him going, which is the difference between a college receiver and a pro receiver. I mean, college receiver, they hold up like a card, and they're like, that's what they tell you the route to run. And then they tell you, like, hey, by the way, we're going to run away from you on the next 3 plays and just hang out. You know what I mean? And the layers of complexity are very basic. Compared to the pro receivers, where there's just literally every step is choreographed, and you have landmarks that you have to get to. And if you're not there, Brock Purdy is going to chew your ass out. I mean, it's just the way it is. And that's the expectation in the NFL. It's a totally different world. So receivers struggle. Jerry Rice struggled. I mean, for every Randy Moss who just hit the ground running, there's like almost every other receiver struggles. And Ricky Pearsall struggled. He went like 5 or 6 games. He barely ever touched the ball. He had 2 great games at the end of the year. He looks awesome this summer. Bigger, stronger, faster, making tons of plays. Ricky Pearsall is going to be a new player this year. New player. Early in practice today, there was a deep corner route from Purdy to Pearsall, and it was just a dime by Purdy. Put it right on Pearsall's hands. And Pearsall's got, he's got good ball skills. He really does. So Pearsall's been exciting, definitely exciting. And as exciting as Pearsall has been, I would say the receiver of the day today, well, first of all, the guy who had the play of the day was probably Demarcus Robinson. Purdy went deep. I had a bunch of bodies in between me. I don't know who it was intended for. It was tipped up into the air, and 5 Demarcus Robinson, who's just a great pickup for the Niners, picked it out of the air and ran it into the end zone for a touchdown, or at least it looked like a touchdown from where I was at. Robinson had the play of the day. That was a great, great play. So he looks good. So that's another receiver playing well. Then, to me, the receiver who had the best day was Jordan Watkins. Every time I looked up today, it was Jordan Watkins, 17, 17, 17. Mac Jones throwing it to him. Carter Bradley, Brock Purdy. I mean, everybody was finding Jordan Watkins. Jordan Watkins is a player. He is going to contribute this year. He looked really, really good. So, those three receivers definitely stood out. Then Braden Willis, I keep wanting to call him Jordan Willis, but Braden Willis, Mac Jones goes to Braden Willis a lot, and Braden Willis is having a pretty nice camp as far as catching the ball. So, Willis with Pline cut. Pline was picked up today off waivers by the Saints. Trey Avery was picked up off waivers today by New England. The other guys cleared waivers. So Isaiah Nayer cleared waivers. Maybe the Niners can get him back, put him on the practice squad. He's raw. He needs practice squad reps. But obviously the Niners needed a roster spot and decided to cut him loose. I think they like him a lot. Leonard Hankerson told me he really likes Nayer and that he likes coaching him and that he thinks he's got a lot of value. And I think they would love to have him back and put him on their practice squad so they could develop him. I would believe. We'll see. There was also a brawl today in practice. It was one of those brawls that I couldn't even tell who started it. A bunch of linemen. Wasn't really a brawl. It was more like just a melee, or I don't know what you want to call it, but everybody just jumped in. I thought I saw Fred Warner in there, but maybe not. Thought I saw some linemen in there, but maybe not. Guys are getting tired of hitting each other, man. It's as simple as that. It's like after a while, your nerves get frayed. You're out there in the sun day after day after day, same guys, day after day after day. You just get sick of it. And you just want to hit somebody else. And nerves get frayed. It was at the end of practice. Shanahan called it about 3 minutes later. Said, that's it. Call it. So I bet you we'll see some fights on Thursday. I mean, I can almost guarantee it. Jacob Robinson, the rookie undrafted corner from BYU, continues to shine. He had another PBU today. He is looking really good. Upton Stout is looking tremendous. I mean, really, really good. Upton Stout had a PBU today. That was one of the best plays. Purdy was going deep. And to see, it was a deep ball to CMC, and Stout just came back there and just flicked it away. I mean, he's something, man. He is absolutely something. If they could clone him, they would. He's just such a serious football player, and he's just made to play the nickel spot, and he's going to be really good. Richie Grant is coming on. He had an interception today. And Richie Grant is making more and more plays on the football. I think the Niners safeties between Pinnock and Grant and Siegel, the three of them all have looked good. I thought maybe the funniest moment today in training camp, Jake Moody came out. There is no Greg Joseph, so now it's just Moody. He attempted 6 field goals. He made 5. He missed from 54. But it was hilarious because he starts kicking, and his nickname is Jake Money Moody, and the DJ at Levi's or on the practice field, who knows the team and who knows, I mean, I just don't think this was an accident, is playing AC/DC's Money Talks as this guy attempts 6 field goals. I mean, it was so appropriate, that Money Talks, and it's like that was Money, Jake Money Moody talking with his leg, and he made 5 of 6. What does it mean? I don't know. I don't know. Will he make them when it matters? I don't know. I hope so. We talked to Colton McKivitz after practice. McKivitz put on some weight. He looks good. He says he wants to make the Pro Bowl. We were waiting for him, so I was looking at his bio. How about this? Colton McKivitz was an all-state football player. That makes sense. But he was an all-state basketball player in the state of Ohio, which is kind of a big state. We're not talking about Montana or something, where it's a small state. There's a lot of people in Ohio. He was all-state basketball player his senior year in high school. All-state. I asked him today. I said, "What position did you play?" And did you get your quick feet from basketball? And he said, I was a center. I was a center. He's like, we were a typical Midwest team, bunch of shooters, and I just got my 10 and 10 and got out of there. Colton's awesome, man. So, but then he said, yeah, one of the reasons that I have, NFL caliber quick feet. I mean, he's a big man with quick feet. It's because of basketball. And he said he credited the other sports that he played as well. I think he said soccer, other sport he also plays. But Colton also said that he's been impressed by CJ and Mikel Collins. And he mentioned Sebastian Valdez. He called him the little Hulk. And he goes, that little Hulk running around. He goes, they've all been impressive. CJ and Mikel and Collins and also that little Hulk running around, referring to Sebastian Valdez. I will say this. Today at practice, McKivitz had a one-on-one with Mikel and just stonewalled him. Just absolutely stood him up. And Mikel got nowhere against McKivitz. So I don't know what that says, if it says that McKivitz is great or Mikel is not great, but that's what I saw today. McKivitz also talked about Ben Barch today, man. He's like, he's a salt of the earth human being. He's a great teammate. I got to know him. McKivitz told us he stayed in San Francisco to train in the offseason, and he was like running up like the Vallejo Street Hill. Could you imagine some Niner offensive linemen running up a hill, training in the city, training in North Beach, getting ready for the season? I mean, it's a crazy story, but I guess we'll find out more about that. By the way, a couple interesting things on Colton McKivitz. The NFL.com scouting report says of Colton McKivitz, they list him as above average nasty with a chippy demeanor. So next time I talk to Colton, I'm going to have to ask him about his chippy demeanor. As far as practice today, what do we see? Mikel struggled at times, and he looked great at times. I asked Pooney after practice about as a guard trying to take on Mikel, and he's like, man, the more space there is, the harder it is. He's so quick. He's so talented with his hands that he can just get right by you. And he gives you a little shimmy, and he can slide by. So he's like, anytime there's a big space, I always get nervous when Mikel's around. We also saw Isaiah Prince. He had a good rep today in the one-on-ones where he beat Jalen Allen in the one-on-ones. And Prince, he's got 35-inch arms, 36-inch arms. He looks like an NFL offensive tackle. We'll see what he looks like when the games start. Drake Nugent had a good rep in the one-on-ones. He beat Alfred Collins. I mentioned the little Hulk, Sebastian Valdez. He got a nice win against Drew Moss. CJ West ragdolled Jake Brendel in one of the reps. Burford. I think the Niners have a real problem with Burford. To me, now nobody's calling him on it, but the refs will. He looks like he's false starting a lot because he can't kick out fast enough. He looks like he's false starting. I mean, I feel like I've seen him false start 4 times, and I've in 11 practices. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just really, really, really dialed in, and he won't get called for it. But I'll make the prediction right now that Spencer Burford will get called for a false start in the preseason. He knows he doesn't have quick feet. He knows he's got to get out there, and he's jumping the snap count. And it's okay in the one-on-ones because there's no real ball. But that ain't going to fly. That's not going to fly. So we'll see. We'll see. That's a concern. What else did we see today of note? Sometimes I have a hard time even reading my own notes after looking at some of these. Oh, Robert Salah said there could be as many as 8 new starters on defense. And then he was asked, hey, did you, people ask these questions that are so stupid sometimes. I mean, I don't want to rip my counterparts, and I don't remember or know who asked this question, but they're like, did you know what you were getting into when you signed here? I mean, really? Really? I mean, what's the answer to that question? If you were surprised, would you say that? Yeah, man. I came here. I thought we had this veteran defense, and I was duped. Shanahan and Lynch duped me. I didn't know we were going young. I didn't know we were going to have to rebuild this thing, and I'm pissed. It's like, what? He's not going to say that, right? So he was never going to say that. So, he smiled graciously, and he said, and by the way, do you really think they would try to fool Robert Saleh? Hey, come on, come back here, buddy. Come back here. Oh, by the way, Greenlaw's gone. All these guys are gone. Bye-bye, Mooney. We're getting rid of all these guys. We're going young. Oh, we didn't tell you. Oh, that's all right. But we got you anyway. It's not the way it works. These guys are straight with each other. So he said, yes, we knew what we were getting ourselves into here. And he had a big smile, and he knows it's a ton of work. And he knows there's a lot of rebuilding that needs to be done. But then he said something today that I thought was maybe the most interesting moment of the entire day. He looked at us all with a big smile. He said, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. And what he meant was, I came here in 2019. We went to the Super Bowl. I'm back here. We're going to rebuild this freaking defense, and we're going to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to do it again. That's what do it again is to Robert Saleh. We're going to build a World Series team and go back, our World Series, Super Bowl team. I'm watching the Giants and the Pirates. He has that confidence that he can do it again, and I love it. Couple other notes today. Nick Martin continues to shine, man. He had a tackle for loss against Jordan James where he just jumped into the backfield. Nick Martin looks amazing. Nick Martin, CJ West, and Upton Stout, the Niners with those three guys. I did a video on this today. Those three guys are cornerstones on all three levels of their defense going forward, and nothing that anybody could say to me would convince me otherwise. I've seen enough. I've seen enough of West. I've seen enough of Martin. I've seen enough of Stout. I've looked at all the film. I've talked to all these guys. I know what they're about. I know what they're made of. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And these are cornerstone players. CJ West is a cornerstone defensive tackle. Nick Martin is a cornerstone off-the-ball linebacker. And Upton Stout's a cornerstone nickel corner. There's no question about it. Junior Bergen had a nice catch today from Mac Jones along the sidelines. That was sharp. Dima Lenore had a really impressive PBU right in front of all the defenders, and they went crazy out there. I thought Alfred Collins, I should say, looked really good in the one-on-ones today. Today was the first time that Collins, I thought, really looked good across the board in the one-on-ones. So, interesting day. Very interesting day in 49er land. Lot of interesting stuff. Really, there's standout players on both sides of the ball. Young, 20 rookies, all kinds of opportunity. But Thursday is going to be huge because Denver's rolling in and they're really talented. They're really, really talented. And we're going to talk to John Chapman here in a minute. But I was just looking at Denver's roster. Wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant from Illinois. They got Troy Franklin. It's a pretty good receiving core. Pretty good receiving core right there. Evan Ingram comes over from Jacksonville at tight end. They also have Adam Troutman, the former Saint. Offensive line, they got McGlinchey and Bowles at the tackles, and Miners and Powers at the guards. Luke Wattenberg is their center. A lot of interesting players. R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin. Really good backfield. Blake Watson, Tyler Batty from Mizzou. A lot of good runners there. That's a lot of good running backs. Bo Nix is their starting quarterback, and they have Jarrett Stidham and Sam Ehlinger. And then defensively, they're coming, man. 3-4 defense. This is a really well-coached football team, too. Vance Joseph is a good coordinator. And they run a 3-4. DJ on the nose, right? DJ Jones. And then they have John Franklin Myers and Zach Allen, who they just gave a contract extension to, are the defensive ends. They drafted Savion Jones, one of my favorites, from LSU. Big 6'6", 290. Playing him as a 5 technique. They also have Malcolm Roach from Texas, the former Saint. So they've got an interesting group up front. And then linebacker-wise, Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito coming off the edges. Benito, the former Sooner. You also have Jonah Ellis from Utah, Q Robinson from Bama. So they've got some interesting, edge pieces. And then Greenlaw inside with Alex Singleton. They also have Drew Sanders. I'm trying to think who else they have inside. Looking at their depth chart, and then in the secondary, I think it's the best secondary there is. I mean, you have Surtain and Barron and Riley Moss, and Barron can play anywhere. He can play outside. He can play the slot. He can play safety. He's like Brian Branch. He's like just awesome DB who can just play absolutely anywhere. So you got Surtain and Barron and Riley Moss, and then Jaquan McMillan's a good corner. They got depth there. They really do. They've got some pretty good players on the corner, and then. Obviously, they've signed a Fonga to play strong safety. They have Brandon Jones, the former Dolphin, at free safety. It's a good football team. Will Lutz is their kicker. They're coming. They were a playoff team last year, and they're going to give the Niners the biggest test they've had. And we're going to know more Thursday night. In fact, Thursday night, I have not booked anybody for Thursday night yet because I'm going to leave Thursday night. We'll be on the radio Wednesday and Thursday for Niners Nightly. I'll leave that open. So we have, a lot of time to get to your phone calls, and I could talk a little bit about what I saw on Thursday, because I think Thursday is going to be probably the best day of training camp for the entire season. All right. Now, what are we going to do? Let's hit a couple thoughts in the chat before we get rolling here. We got 49er 209ers. What's going on? John Joseph. This is great. He says, loving hearing all of this. I'm saying some of the positivity up front. We got this one from Big Brick 84. McKivitz is getting better, is what tells me motivated to be a Pro Bowler. Yeah, he is motivated. There's no question. This guy says motivated for a bigger contract. How about motivated for both? Bucko Sports says Larry is always right. Wow. And I probably would have put that up there if he had said Larry is always wrong. Or maybe not. All right. On that note, let's welcome in our guest. The great John Chapman's in the house, and let's welcome him right now to Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader. All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger with you. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. And with us on the UMA guest line to chop it up and talk Niners, one of my favorites, one of the best, I think, talking Niners, one of the best content creators in the biz. And he's a great follow on X at JL_Chapman. The great John Chapman is in the house. John, how are you?
Man, exceptional. We got training camp in full swing. Football's on the horizon. Times are great, and I'm very happy to be with you here today, Larry.
Well, tell people how, if they want to find the 49er Rush podcast, because I don't know if people know this, but John travels the country, goes to a lot of road games, has parties on the road with Niner faithful, and you're doing a lot of stuff. So tell people if they want to get a hold of you and check you out on YouTube or on X, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, we put out daily content on the 49ers. We're on episode, I think, like 1400 or something. We've been doing this for a little while. Just 49ers Rush, wherever you watch and or listen for podcast, wherever that is. We are there. And then if you do travel and go to any away games, we host 2 events for every single 49ers away game. A party the day before, a rally, family-friendly. Kids get in free to everything. And an all-inclusive premium tailgate with drinks, beverages, food, everything included. Get your tickets on the TickPick app exclusively. Just search 49ers Rush. You'll see all of our events there. And week 1, we got Frank Gore coming to party with us in Seattle. So you get to meet the legend and all that stuff. So check that out. TickPick app. Just search 49ers Rush. But man, just again, happy to be here. And I feel, Larry, I feel like a little kid on Christmas. It's the week of, and we're so close to seeing some new 49ers football with the preseason right here. I'm pumped. Just glad to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. Thursday, I don't know. Well, I know the Niners say they're happy to have the Broncos coming to town. I don't know if they'll feel that way by the time Thursday ends. This is a talented Denver team. Bo Nix, year 2. Sean Payton's got this thing going. They drafted R.J. Harvey and a bunch of young, talented players. This may be the best 3 corners in football with Surtain, Jedi Barron, Riley Moss. You got big DJ Jones coming to town, Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga coming back to town. This is one of the Denver Broncos, that is one of the up-and-coming teams in the NFL. I'm really looking forward to Thursday, and I'll tell you, John, I asked Robert Salah about my favorite camp guy, number 55, the mini Hulk, Sebastian Valdez. I feel like I discovered this guy. And I asked Salah about him, and he's like, you know what? He didn't say Krug pumped the brakes, but he almost did. He said he didn't say Krug, but he said, we'll know what's real and what's not once Denver comes to town. So what do you take away from that? Is that him saying, you know what, Valdez is beating up on Connor Colby and Drew Moss, and you know what, those guys in the grand scheme of things aren't that great? Is it a knock at the Niner O-line, or is it pump the brakes on Valdez, or what do you think? What's Salah trying to say to me?
I think that I love the test, because if you look at the Broncos, kind of what separates them is their defense and their offensive line. Those are the strengths of their team. I don't think many people would consider the interior offensive line of the 49ers the strength of their team outside of Dominic Pooney, who's great, but I don't think people kind of see that with Jake Brindle or Ben Barch or Nick Zakelj or any of those guys. So he's going to get a much better test. There's no doubt about that. And, if we're talking Sebastian Valdez, this guy is an undrafted free agent, and one of the biggest hurdles was overcoming one of the largest incumbent undrafted free agents in Kevin Givens, who's been with the team since 2019. Well, now he's got that pec injury and going to miss a substantial amount of the season. Like, all injuries are bad injuries, but Sebastian got a huge kind of through unwarranted, but it's what it is. That depth chart, he jumps up a spot, and I think that he has an opportunity to really stake claim and say, you got to keep me on this roster. Can he do enough? This is going to be his first of many major tests leading into the preseason. But, Shanahan's talked about how they get more from these joint practices than they do the preseason games themselves. So watch for number 55 Hulk out there going against Quinn Miners. Like, you're going to get to see if this kid belongs and what he has available.
He's really intriguing. I'll say that. Very fast, very explosive. He's got the attention of the offensive lineman. He's got the attention of Dom Pooney. Very interesting situation. It's fun watching the Niner D-line in this camp because they get better every day. Mikael Williams, it's interesting. Some reps, he looks amazing. And I was talking to Dom Pooney after practice in an interview that we're going to air, I think, tomorrow night on the show. And I said, tell me about Mikael. He's like, he's really hard to handle for guards because he gets that momentum going and he can just kind of get real narrow in the hole. And he's so athletic that the more open spaces there are, the scarier he is for guards. We've already seen it. Sometimes guards just whiff on him and he can make them look really, really bad. So like Pooney was saying, it's like, you got to be really careful with Mikael as a guard because he'll give you some kind of a little bit of a shimmy and just go right by you like a basketball player going to the rim.
He's got just such a weird skill set, Mikael Williams, and you understand why he went 11th overall. But the Niners tried to trade up for him. They tried to get to that 9 spot because they thought the Saints were going to take him. Thankfully, they got him at 11, but he's got 34 and 5/8 inch arms. Like, he's got the length and the wingspan. And like, what is the prototypical kind of understanding of interior offensive linemen in the NFL? They don't have the elite length, those 34-inch arms, so they kick them inside where you can kind of disguise that a little bit. Well, now the NFL is kind of doing the same thing on the defensive side of this NASCAR package. You're kicking these guys with elite length like Mikael Williams inside. He's got a 3.5-inch plus, arm length advantage, plus the athleticism, plus the strength. Like, it's a mismatch. And whenever you don't have to be concerned about running on 3rd and long and you kick Mikael Williams inside, it's just, hey, the NFL is a matchup league. And I think probably one of the things that kind of content creators and whatever, like, I've been in those coaching staffs. You've been in those rooms where it's like, what is the opportunity we can exploit? Offense, defense, special teams. Man, you put Mikael Williams against, a sluggish guard with short arms, and it's just like, okay, we don't have to worry about the run game because it's 3rd and long. We're not going to do it the whole game. man, that's a huge matchup advantage that teams are going to have to slide their offensive, line protection his way. Because if you don't, you're in trouble. Well, guess what? Now we got Bosa on the back end or Bryce Huff on the other side. So it's kind of a pick your poison. You better have a quick passing attack or leave a back or a tight end in to help with protection, because you can't take care of all these guys. And so I really do like this advantage that they're moving him around a lot. And you're about to get Yetur Gross-Matos back too, who has already done this in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, very similar skill sets, and then you got CJ West. He had a rep today against Jake Brendel, and, he kind of ragdolled Brendel a little bit, and it wasn't embarrassing at all. And Brendel's pretty veteran player at this point, and CJ's pretty young. But, man, CJ's a monster. And everything that Mel Kiper wrote about CJ in his article before the draft is showing itself. Strong hands, excellent technique, crazy power, amazing tenacity, really hard to block, can collapse the pocket, has some pass rush wiggle. We forget CJ West ran 4.95 in the 40 at the combine, so he can get home. He's really good run defender, but he's got some pass rush ability as well. So it's an interesting group. Now, one guy that I asked Robert Salah about is the newest 49er. And I don't know how much you know about Bradlee Anae, but Bradlee Anae played for Utah, and Dallas drafted him in 2020 in the mid rounds. This guy was the Morris Trophy winner, which is like the best lineman in the Pac-12. And he doesn't look all that great. He's 6'3" and change, about 260. He doesn't have, really, really slow workout time, John. I mean, like really slow, like sundial slow, like 4.9 slow, right? Really slow. But, Salah picked him up in a trade from the Cowboys while he was with the Jets. And he brought him in here, and he likes him. And he's coming off an appearance, John, where he played in the UFL, and he led his UFL team with he led the UFL, the entire league, I should say, with a 23.2% pass rush win rate, 91.7 pass rush grade in true pass sets, top 5 in pressures with 33, top 5 in hurries with 23, 17 tackles, 6 TFLs, 5 sacks. This guy, it's funny because Brad was at practice yesterday, and I saw his tweet after practice, and he's like, Bradlee Anae showed up at the quarterback 3 or 4 times, and he doesn't have great speed, but he's got awesome hand usage, and it's amazing how the technique of the hands is such a valuable tool in being a dominating rusher. Anyway, I don't know if Anae's going to make it. I don't know. Who knows? But to me, he looks as good or better than Jonathan Garvin, than Jalen Allen, than Robert Beal. So I think he's definitely, we'll see. It might take an injury to get him on there, but look for Bradlee Anae in the preseason. He's wearing, I think he wore 69. I'm not sure which number he's wearing, but Bradlee Anae, the former Utah Ute, is a player.
Yeah, one of the things, I was out there at practice as well, and it was just like, what the heck is happening? He just kept getting around. He was coming off the defensive right side. He beat the left tackle 3 out of 5 consecutive plays. And it was just like, what is happening over here? Now, a couple of those wins were against Isaac Alarcon, which, he's part of the International Player Pathway Program. But when you can make a splash in such a quick time off the edge, that is huge. And if the 49ers are putting a premium on anything, they need more situational pass rushers. Obviously, that's Bryce Huff's job. But they've now brought in 2 UFL situational pass rushers in the past week, where it's like, hey, let's see what we can get out of these guys. Worst case scenario, I doubt they make the 53 as well. But if they could splash enough to be like, hey, we're going to be your break glass in case of emergency. If something happens with Bryce Huff, we could be that, pass rush specialist. It was fun seeing them. And it was just like, man, it was 3 out of 5 plays. Dude was just right there. And so hopefully he keeps it going, and we'll see how he does against, again, we're talking Broncos this week. That's a test. Yeah, Mike McGlinchey, and you got Bulls on the other side. You're going to get some looks.
No question. I mean, this Denver line is pretty decent. You mentioned there's McGlinchey. They have Quinn Miners. Quinn Miners is the right guard. He's kind of a house. He's got some talent too. I kind of always liked Quinn Miners for when he came out in the draft. So yeah, they've got, this is a good Denver team. I mean, this is going to be a real interesting challenge. So the Niners on the defensive line, that's one topic. Now, we had a chance today after practice for the first time this summer to talk to Colton McKivitz. And I was looking up, we had extra time because he was, who knows what he was doing, but we were waiting on McKivitz. So I was looking at his bio. I didn't realize Colton McKivitz was an all-state football and basketball player his senior year in the state of Ohio. All-state basketball player. And I asked him, I said, does that basketball experience help you with quick feet, to play tackle in the NFL? And he's like, absolutely. And it's not just basketball, it's the other sports that I played as well. And John, you coach football. I mean, I would emphasize this to my kids and to, anybody. Don't specialize. If you don't have to, play all the sports, develop all the different muscles, all the different, things that go along with playing all these different sports. And I just heard it from McKivitz today. He's like, he basically said that the reason he's got quick enough feet to play tackle in the NFL, and you got to have quick feet. I mean, I don't know if Pleasance and Burford have quick enough feet. To me, they don't. But the reason he says he has that is because of hoops, high school hoops. What do you think?
Well, whenever I coached, my kind of statement that I always said is if anybody tells you you have to specialize in one sport, they do not have your best interest in mind. They have their own. You've got to now, if you have a full ride at an SEC school or whatever else, that's when that conversation changes. But yeah, you talk Colton McKivitz, the Union High School in Ohio, they retired his number like for football and basketball. Like that's a statement. And I know a lot of fans, 49ers fans especially, were kind of like out on the McKivitz thing 3 years ago. But you have to understand, last year was a career year with what he did. He elevated his pass pro, he elevated his run game, and by far, and if he has the exact same year that he did in 2024 this year, he's going to get a bigger contract than Jalen Moore got. You're talking $18 million a year. The right tackle position in the NFL is probably the most devoid of talent across all 32 teams. There are not 32 quality right tackles. There's about 15. And Colton McKivitz is in that 15. And so the 49ers believe in him. I think if they had a choice, it could extend one of Jauan Jennings or Colton McKivitz. I think they choose Colton McKivitz. I don't think they're going to extend either. They seem to have bought into this philosophy of we're going to allow him to go on and get paid, get that comp pick, and try to rebuild that way, especially at the wide receiver position. But Colton McKivitz is contract year. If he could put up the exact same thing he did last year, this guy's going to be getting $18 million a year, kind of like Aaron Banks did.
No question. And, I wanted to ask him today, but it seemed a little premature. But I wanted to ask him, would you like to sign a short-term extension with the Niners, or would you like to? I mean, he says he wants to make the Pro Bowl. It sounds like he's in the mindset of, heck with the contract talks. I'll gamble on myself and I'll roll the dice and see in free agency next year. He, as we said with Jalen Moore getting so much money, I mean, Colton McKivitz has a decent year and he's going to get, big cash. So I kind of wonder, would he even be interested in a 2-year extension for reasonable money? Or do you think he'd rather gamble on himself and try to hit the mother load in the free agent market next March?
Yeah, it's interesting because he's 29. He's about to turn 29 as soon as the league year starts, the actual football season starts. He's made less than $10 million in his career earnings because he's done 2 of those kind of bargain bin contracts. He signed that 2-year kind of, $5 million whatever to be that backup. Very similar to Dre Greenlaw's contract. I think it's time to go cash in. If I was his agent or whatever, bet on yourself. If again, man, what he did last year, and it was a down year for the 49ers, but there weren't a lot, and he has 1 or 2 of those kind of blunder plays where it's just like, oh man, he got beat so quick. But that happens across the NFL. The consistency that he brought last year, I think he's going to get paid big time to be a starter somewhere. And a team that has a lot more cap space than the 49ers in the future years. 49ers have cap space now about $40 million, but they don't have that next year.
We had a little debate, Mayoko and I and a couple other of the media guys on the field today we were trying to guess which 49er player was most likely to be picked up or claimed off waivers. And I wasn't really sure who to go with. I was thinking maybe Isaiah Nayer because he had that intriguing viral moment. And, there could be some people that are just intrigued by his size. But Nayer went unclaimed and is now a free agent. It was Mason. If you guessed Mason Pline or Trey Avery, you guessed correct. Trey Avery was claimed off waivers today by the New England Patriots, and Mason Pline was claimed off waivers by the New Orleans Saints. I asked Brian Fleury about the tight end competition for the third tight end. Obviously, George is the one, Farrell's the two. And he said, you know what? The third tight end is going to be very much special teams oriented. So do you think it goes to Dwelly, Tongas, or Willis? I mean, Dwelly's probably the best, most proven special teamer, but Willis and Tongas are younger with more upside and have probably looked better on the practice field this summer.
Yeah, I would argue Braden Willis has looked the best whenever I've been at camp. But again, we've seen this from Braden Willis in the past where he shines in camp, preseason game, lights turn on, and the dude just shrinks to the environment, kind of like a Jake Moody almost. So can he carry the success that he has had and the versatility that he's had, and probably the most prolific in the passing game of those three tight ends you mentioned? Can he carry that over into the preseason to validate that position? You remember, this is a guy that got drafted after Cameron Latu several years ago. Well, he won that competition, but can he continue that on to be one of the three claimed? Because the 49ers, they've kept as many as 5 tight ends, 4 tight ends, 3 tight. Since Shanahan's been here on their initial 53, but you have Kittle and you have Luke Farrell. Man, you can only keep 2 and kind of see what gets washed back and not claimed out of Tongas, Braden Willis, and Ross Dwelly. I don't think anybody's going to be claiming Ross Dwelly at this point in his career. And then, keep some of those positions and then bring them back after the initial 53 via practice squad promotion, whatever else. But I do think Braden Willis probably seems to be the guy. Whenever you look at that tight end rotation with the ones out there, he seems to be getting the most favorable snaps. But, it's revolving. And can Braden Willis perform in the preseason, which he has not done so far throughout his early career?
All right, let's hit a couple camp questions before we finish up here. What do you think is the best story in 49er camp, regardless, offense, defense, special teams? What, in your mind, is the best story in 49er camp?
The 49ers put a premium this year on rookies, and they're relying on them, especially defensively. Upton Stout, he's kind of taken everything by storm. Calling wide receivers out in one-on-ones, and not just any wide receiver. He's going back-to-back against Ricky Pearsall and winning. And Ricky Pearsall is torching everybody. So Upton Stout, and the fact that, he was good through minicamp and OTAs, that was cool. Couple injuries kind of shook up, the cornerback room. But he's just one of those guys that's just kind of like Dominic Pooney. Injuries happen. He gets vaulted into the first team. He may never relinquish that. And so my number one kind of camp storyline that's best news for the 49ers, Upton Stout might be that rookie diamond in the rough, just like Dominic Pooney was last year. And, man, he's going to be tested right off the bat. Week 1, you got Jackson Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp working out of the slot. We're going to find out, Rook. You're going to find out real quick. But Upton Stout would be my number one storyline.
That's a good one. As for me, I would say the number one storyline for me is that both Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are really look on point right now. I mean, they both look really good. The Niners, I think, are going to have a pretty good quarterback room. They kind of pivoted off of Mordecai to Carter Bradley. I think that was probably to satisfy Jones and Purdy and maybe Gus. I think this is the group they're going to go with. Brock the 1, Mac the 2, Bradley the 3. Probably only go through 2 on the final 53. Put Bradley through waivers, put him on the practice squad, Rourke on the PUP, and I think there's your quarterback room. So I would say Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, how well they've both played. I think Purdy looks really, really good, and Jones, who I thought was going to struggle adapting to the complex offense, has shown me John, that this guy did the mental reps in the offseason. He's smart. He can process. The book on Jones was accurate. He's smart. He can process. And he can, he can play on time from the pocket. That's what I've seen this summer. Does it look amazing? No. Does he have awesome foot speed? No. Is he the biggest, strongest arm quarterback you've ever seen? No. But the ball comes out. It goes to the right guy at the right place at the right time. So, I mean, we can, I know that's, I'm making it sound overly simplistic. There's a lot more to playing quarterback than just that, but I'll start right there. I love what I've seen from Mac, and Purdy has got a little bit more juice on his throws and looks really in great rhythm with a relatively new group of receivers. So I would say the quarterbacks would be my big story.
Man, it's smooth out there. That's the thing. Like, there were a few times I was out at practice and I was trying to pay attention to the defense and watching certain guys on the defensive side and team. And I kept being like, who was the quarterback on that? Because I didn't know. It was so quick and, efficient, and just, it's not like every play is a touchdown or anything along those lines. It's just, man, it is operating at the pace that Shanahan likes, where it's just, man, quick, poised, collected, getting it to the right guys, and just, and a lot of times you can't tell if it's Brock or Mac Jones out there. I'm not saying that, it's a quarterback competition or whatever, but this is the first time, man, since, goodness, you go all the way back to 2018, the first offseason after Jimmy, and it was just like the quarterback room seems to be solved. And this isn't even a 1-year solve. Like, Mac Jones is tied up for 2 years. Brock Purdy just got his extension done. And if they're already operating this well out of training camp, what are 49ers fans going to do without any quarterback turmoil, Larry? Like, how do we handle ourselves?
Seriously, what the heck are we going to do? All right, biggest, what? You're eager to see this guy in the preseason. That you've watched it on the film. You've watched practice, but you're really interested to see this guy. And if you want to pick two, pick two. Who are you really interested to see Saturday night go live against the Broncos?
I want to see Alfred Collins. He's been, everybody talking about how he's not good at one-on-ones and he's not getting penetration and whatever else. And to be honest with you, if you draft Alfred Collins, and I credit to you, Larry, I saw you put something like this up on the Twitter sphere, and it was just like, you didn't draft Alfred Collins for pass rush and one-on-ones. If you ever watched him at Texas, that's not what he did. He is a run stuffer that takes up multiple offensive linemen and assists everybody around him in the run game. So I want to see if what we saw at Texas can correlate to that. And yeah, Alfred Collins is never going to be the sexy one-on-one blowing, exploding and knocking guys back. That's just not who he is. That's not who he was. And there's an adaptation that has to take place going from Pete Kwiatkowski's defense at Texas to Robert Salah in this, Chris Kusarek style. So there's going to be a little bit of a transition period, but you've seen it in team as well. When 95 is out there, not necessarily that he's making the tackles, but just yesterday, it was an inside gap run right at Collins 95. He takes on both blockers, the center and the guard, doesn't move an inch. The ball carrier takes one step to where he's supposed to go. That road's closed, cuts back. And I think it was Luke Gifford and CJ West were right there to meet him for a tackle for loss. Like, I don't think Alfred Collins is going to have a lot of tackle for losses or even really tackles, but he just makes it easier on linebackers, defensive ends, and the fellow defensive tackle next to him because he's taking two guys up and he's not getting pushed into the linebacker's lap like we saw last year. I think the biggest weakness last year of the entire 49ers team was the lack of run defense. Give up 31 rushing touchdowns. Almost broke a franchise record for rush touchdowns allowed. That's why the 49ers drafted Alfred Collins in the second round. And I want to see that against a stout run game, the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to be watching for big number 95. He's hard to miss out there.
I'm going to be watching, to me, there's two positions on the field that you just can't judge anything really in practice. And it's running back and linebacker. Those are the two instinctive positions that, I watch Nick Martin, but he's not hitting guys. He's tagging guys. Well, guess what? He ain't tagging guys Saturday night. He's going to be hitting guys. So linebacker and running back, and Corey Kiner has been really good in camp. And I just think that once we see the pads come on and this guy's running live, People are going to be like, dude, Corey Kiner, because he's got great contact balance. He had a moment on the practice field that only a scout could appreciate. He had a jump cut about 5 practices ago that literally he jumped 3.5 feet laterally, just like while running. I mean, just running, and all of a sudden here's a defender, he jump cuts inside 3.5 feet. It was like one of the biggest jump cuts I've seen in a long time. This guy is really explosive in short area. I love Corey Kiner. I can't wait for Saturday night. The other thing is today they were getting ready for a meeting, players meeting. And I was doing an interview with Dom Pooney. And I left my binoculars in the auditorium, so I went back in there. Who's the first guy in the meeting? Now, granted, it doesn't mean anything. It's just random. For all I know, he got there early or whatever for a reason. Maybe he had treatment or something. But Stone Blanton. And when I talked to Johnny Holland about Stone Blanton, he doesn't say pump the brakes. He doesn't say, I don't know. He's like, this guy, you tell him one thing one time, he does it right from then on. He's like, Stone Blanton has more ball production than the rest of the linebackers, and he has fewer reps than the rest of the linebackers. So he had 18 tackles in a game. He had 14 tackles in a game. This guy knows how to play. He shows up at the football. You don't see it in practice because you don't see it in practice. They're not hitting. They don't blow up their own running backs. You're going to see it Saturday night. I'm on record as saying Stone Blanton will have double-digit tackles in one of these 3 preseason games. I'm all in on Stone Blanton.
Yeah, I want to add just one thing. You're at these practices, and they got their behemoth speakers blasting, rap music or whatever else. I mean, they're huge. But whenever they start the training camp out, they go through defensive alignment period, usually first the defense, and you put your ones out there and they walk through and they make all their calls and their adjustments and their blitzes and all this stuff, right? But then they rotate to the 2s and the 3s and whatever else. And I'll be sitting there jotting down, okay, who's running with the 1s, 2s. And then all of a sudden I'll be looking down writing, and you can hear the point where Stone Blanton starts calling the defense, because it doesn't matter how loud those damn speakers are. Yeah. I'm 100 yards across the field sometimes. You can hear every damn call, every word out of his mouth, getting everybody ready. That dude is, like you said, level 10 across the board. Personality, showing up first to meetings. His name's Stone. Are you kidding me? Come on, seriously, man. I'm with you, Larry.
Stone Blanton. Johnny Holland does not blow smoke. Does not. Johnny Holland's as real as the day is long. He played for Jackie Sherrill back in the day. He does not blow smoke. He would not say Stone Blanton's a player if Stone Blanton wasn't a player. But he also ain't going to shortchange him. He's not going to be like one of these guys, well, he hasn't proven it to me. It's like Johnny is impressed by Stone Blanton, and I am as well. All right, last topic before we finish. Is Jauan Jennings holding in? Is Jauan Jennings holding out? Is Jauan Jennings doing neither, and he's just nursing a calf injury? What do you believe?
This is 100% speculation on my own part, okay? Right. This is a hold in / out, because he's not even out there. Like, if your calf's hurt, like, you can put a walking boot on that, which takes away all mobility there. I mean, I've seen players have Achilles surgery, be in a walking boot the next week, and, like, you could stand, and you could be out there. So, and again, I could be way off, and I'm just speaking from my own experience as a coach and a player. This is a contract issue, and I truly do believe, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Ask my wife. Look, and maybe he did tweak it. I'm not saying he didn't get injured. I'm saying the reason why he is not out there is the contract, not the injury. That's my own take on it. This is a contract issue, pure and simple.
I really believe that's the case as well. I really do. I'm not mad at him or anything. And but when Shanahan said the other day, go ask him. Well, we don't get to talk to him.
And I think the 49ers kind of learned their lesson last year with Brandon Ayuk. I remember Raj and, Brad and them get the video of Brandon Ayuk on the sidelines and tapping up Kyle Shanahan, and just the distraction that was. Like, hey, man, just don't be out here. Like, right? So just don't come out here. Just you do what you got to do. we'll have practice, but don't be a distraction. And so I think that could play into it as well. Like, well, if I can't play, I'm just going to stay out. I don't want to be a distraction as this hold-in. I kind of understand that. That it makes sense to me that way. That's the only way I could put some type of team spin on this, which Jauan Jennings has been the ultimate team guy. And I don't want to discredit what he's accomplished and played way under contract, been way underpaid, and, signs that cheap extension, balls out. Dude deserves to get paid. But again, the 49ers have chosen, we're going to let these guys walk afterward, get the compensation pick, build through the draft. Younger and cheaper has been the motto of the 49ers this entire offseason. I don't think that's going to change, especially whenever you have Ayuk coming back from injury. You have Ricky Pearsall. Demarcus Robinson has looked this part 100%. Then you've got Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowing. If he gets out, the pathway has been paved. I don't think there's a reason to go back on that. Obviously, I want Jauan Jennings part of the 49ers a long time, but I think he's going to get paid more elsewhere. And I think what happens when Ayuk comes back? Does he go back to just being the slot guy and getting 20 catches a year? You don't pay $15 million a year for that. Allow him to go somewhere where he can be used in 3 wide receiver sets. 49ers run the fewest 3 wide receiver sets in the NFL, Larry. I think it's best for everybody. Just give them a couple more million, make them happy for this year, guaranteed. Allow them to walk, get your compensation pick, best for all parties.
I'll share the screen because this is the comment that kind of made people kind of question this. This is a Shanahan yesterday. We'll play this and you can hear it. Here's Shanahan.
Anything new on Jauan Jennings?
Same thing with his calf.
It's definitely health related, not business related.
You can ask him that, but he tells me it's his calf and the calf shows, so got to be delicate with those calves.
So, I mean, it just wasn't very convincing. And here's the other thing I would say. There's no indications when you're there that he's not there on the side field. He's not working with anybody. He's not there. So, it just doesn't, it's to me, it's not like, oh my God, we've uncovered some terrible thing. I think the Niners just didn't want this to be a constant topic, a big PR distraction. And I think they just allowed him to kind of, hey, it's a calf and we'll figure it out. John, awesome stuff. Tell people once again, if they want to follow you on X or if they want to check you out on YouTube, tell them once again how they can find you.
Yeah, 49ers Rush, wherever you watch or listen, man, come say what's up. We go live daily. And we want more on the team. And if you ever have questions, please reach out. You could access all of our socials through anywhere you find us. And yeah, we are here to help people understand football and have a good time. We're not a hot take show. That's not really what we do. I'm a former coach. I try to bring an X's and O's standpoint to a little bit of what's happening out there and just have a good time and enjoy fandom.
It's awesome stuff. John Chapman, he's fantastic. Everybody check him out. We're back tomorrow with another edition of Niners Nightly at 6:00. Mike Kliss is going to stop by from the Denver Post tomorrow night, and we'll talk a little bit about the Broncos and look ahead, do a little preview. Also, Nick Cosmet, I think it's Cosmeter, the Broncos beat writer for The Athletic, is going to stop by later this week as well. We'll talk a little Niners Broncos and talk a little bit about this, the joint practice. John, awesome stuff, man. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Larry. Appreciate the show as always, man.
Take care. All right. There you go. John Chapman stopping by. It is time for our 49er stat of the day. And then when the Niners official depth chart, first official depth chart is out. But to me, the 49ers stat of the day surrounds Mac Jones. Mac Jones has had a very strong camp. As I said, he's thrown with touch. He's thrown with timing. Ball's coming out on time. He's throwing it to the right guy at the right time. And he just looks very comfortable. Today, Mac Jones completed 14 passes in a row before throwing his first incompletion on his 15th pass. This is according to Nick Wagner's account. I did not count passes, but Nick does. So there you go. And so there you go. Mac Jones is really looking good. And one of the guys that Mac Jones has been throwing the ball to quite a bit has been Braden Willis. Braden Willis has been much more of a factor in the passing attack and the offensive attack in this camp than I ever remember him in any previous camp. So anyway, that's going to do it for us. John Joseph says, Chapman, good stuff. Awesome. Papa J, thanks, Larry and John. God bless everybody. Thank you. Papa J says, like and subscribe to both channels. Today we're on the KMBR YouTube channel, so hit like and subscribe over at KMBR. Of course, the Krueger show on YouTube is where we're at on the regular, and John's got his 49er Rush podcast. And if you can hit like and subscribe on all three, that would be awesome. That would be fantastic. We're back with you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock for another edition of Niners Nightly. The schedule for the rest of the week is as follows. Tomorrow, the players will have a 49er player walkthrough, so there'll be no practice, just a walkthrough preparing for Thursday. Thursday, it's on, man. I'm going to get there early. Hopefully, it's going to be fantastic. Broncos roll in. It's going to be a long practice. Niners and Broncos practicing head-to-head. We're going to have a lot to talk about. We'll be on tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. On YouTube only, or actually tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we're back on KMBR radio. So, and Mike Kliss joins us tomorrow night on the radio. And also Nick Cosmodore from The Athletic is going to join us as well. And then we are back Thursday. I'm not going to book any guests on Thursday night because I want to have a lot of time to just kind of take your phone calls and talk. And it's going to be a big dramatic practice on Thursday. And we'll probably have a lot to talk about. If we could change our mind between now and then, but we're not looking to book a guest there. And then we're back on YouTube on Friday. So YouTube, it was Monday, Tuesday, and Friday on YouTube, Wednesday, Thursday this week on KMBR radio on the AM and FM dial, 680 on the AM side, 104.5 on the FM side. As I said, hit like and subscribe. If you hit like, more people just find the shows in the algorithm, kind of feeds the algorithm. If you hit subscribe every time KMBR goes live on YouTube, you don't have to miss a minute of the action. So hit like and subscribe. KMBR is doing a lot of great stuff on their YouTube channel. We're going to bring you tip-top 49er coverage throughout the year. So that's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks to everybody associated with the broadcast. Thanks to John Chapman for stopping by. Thanks to all of you guys. Go Niners. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 on the Sports Leader.